Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. One of the things I love about doing this show is getting to learn something new every time, and today's topic is no exception.
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually.
It really is. We're diving into the link between alcohol and cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I gotta say, before doing the research for this, I didn't realize how strong that connection actually is.
Well, interesting.
Yeah. And it turns out it's something a lot of people don't really know about. Like, the Surgeon General recently put out this whole advisory about it.
The Surgeon General. Wow, that's pretty serious then.
It is. It is. And, it's not just some random opinion, right? This is based on a ton of scientific evidence. Like, did you know that alcohol is actually the third leading preventable cause of cancer in the U.S.?
Wow. Third. That's higher than I would have thought.
I know, right? It's right up there with tobacco and obesity.
So we're going to really unpack all of this today. We've got some fascinating sources to share.
That sounds great. So to kick things off, let's talk about the Surgeon General's advisory. I mean, it's not every day that the nation's top doctor comes out with a warning like this. What exactly prompted this, to put out this advisory?
Well, the current Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, he felt like there was this real gap in public awareness.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. A lot of people just don't know about the link between alcohol and cancer.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make sure that people have the information they need to make healthy choices. So he basically put out this advisory saying, hey, there's this clear connection and we need to be talking about it.
So he's not just saying like, hey, alcohol is generally not great for you.
Right.
He's specifically calling out cancer.
Exactly, yeah. It's not just about like liver damage or something like that. It's about cancer specifically.
Okay, so cancer. Now, when we talk about cancer, are we talking about like any type of cancer, or are there specific types that are linked to alcohol use?
Yeah. So the advisory points to at least 7 types of cancer that are linked to drinking. Yeah, like breast cancer is one, liver cancer, obviously, throat cancer, colorectal cancer, the list goes on.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is, yeah. And it's actually kind of scary when you think about the numbers.
Okay.
Alcohol-related cancers, they claim as many lives each year as car accidents.
Wow. That puts it in a really stark perspective, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It's interesting because we hear so much about, the risks of smoking and lung cancer. Or like, you got to eat healthy, watch out for heart disease. But for some reason, the alcohol-cancer connection just doesn't seem to get as much attention.
Exactly. I think that's part of why the Surgeon General felt it was so important to issue this advisory, to bring it into the light, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need to be talking about this as much as we talk about the other major risk factors.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is that I was reading that less than half of Americans are even aware of this increased cancer risk from alcohol.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of mind-blowing, right? Like, it's such a significant risk, and yet so many people are in the dark about it.
That's wild. No wonder the Surgeon General felt the need to step in.
Exactly. And he didn't just stop at raising awareness, right?
Yeah.
He actually made some pretty specific suggestions about how to address this.
He did, yeah.
Like, he's actually suggesting putting warning labels directly on alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
Like, those big warning labels they have on cigarette packs. He wants to see something similar for beer, wine, liquor.
Yeah, that was a pretty big part of his advisory, wasn't it? I mean, you can just imagine, like, reaching for a 6-pack at the store and seeing this big warning label staring back at you.
Right. You'd have to think twice, wouldn't you?
For sure. And it's an interesting approach, right? Because on one hand, you could argue that it's kind of like, well, duh, everyone knows drinking isn't exactly healthy.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's clearly a knowledge gap here. We just talked about how so many people aren't aware of the cancer risk.
Right. So maybe those labels could actually make a difference.
Exactly. It's kind of like a constant reminder, right? Every
Yeah.
time you pick up a drink, you're reminded of the potential consequences.
So have these kinds of warning labels been effective for other products?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, we know that warning labels on tobacco products have definitely contributed to lower smoking rates over the years.
Okay.
But whether they would have the same impact on alcohol consumption, that's a little less clear. Some studies have shown that warning labels on alcohol might not be as effective for people who are already regular drinkers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it seems like for some people, those labels might just become like background noise. They're so used to seeing them, they don't really register anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of like how, when you drive past the same billboard every day, you eventually just stop noticing it.
Exactly.
So maybe labels alone aren't enough. Maybe it's
Right.
going to be part of like a bigger effort, right?
Right. Like Education campaigns, stricter regulations, maybe even changes to how alcohol is marketed and advertised.
And, even if those labels did get put on drinks, it's not like they'd appear overnight.
Right. Definitely not. I mean, there would have to be legislation passed. There would be pushback from the alcohol industry. It wouldn't be a quick or easy process.
Oh, I bet there would be a lot of pushback from the industry.
Oh, for sure. I mean, their profits are at stake, right? And we saw that actually after the Surgeon General issued this advisory, the stock prices of some of the big alcohol companies actually dipped.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it just shows you how much financial weight this issue carries.
It's a huge industry, that's for sure. But, setting aside the political and economic aspects for a moment, let's go back to the science. Is there like a magic number when it comes to alcohol and cancer risk? Is there like a specific amount that's considered, the tipping point?
That's tricky. It's not as simple as saying, oh, if you drink X amount, you're guaranteed to get cancer. It's more nuanced than that. Everyone's different, right? You've got genetics, family history, lifestyle factors, all playing a role. Plus, different types of alcohol have different levels of risk associated with them. Like, even something that you wouldn't traditionally think of as alcohol, processed meats, for example, can increase your risk of cancer.
Wait, what do you mean processed meats?
Yeah, so certain processed meats like salami, bacon, sausage, things like that,
Okay.
they contain alcohol as a preservative.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. And studies have shown that even moderate consumption of these kinds of processed meats can significantly increase your risk of colorectal cancer.
That's wild. So it's not just about the drinks themselves, it's also about these hidden sources of alcohol in our food.
Exactly. It's everywhere, right?
Wow. Okay, so clearly there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. And even though it's a complicated topic, I think the biggest takeaway here is just the importance of being informed.
I agree. Like at the end of the day, it's about making conscious decisions about our health, right?
Absolutely. We all have different choices to make,
Yeah.
and there's no right or wrong answer. But the more we know about the risks, the better equipped we are to make those choices.
Exactly.
Well, cheers to knowledge, right? And to making informed decisions about our health.
Cheers to that.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next time with another deep dive.
See you then.